Alright guys, we gotta talk about Sony's censorship policy again here. Because it turns out it's actually worse than it initially appeared to be. It used to look like that it was only going to affect games that are being released in the West. And it was mainly focused on interactive features within those games, like the intimacy mode from Senran Kagura. But it turns out it's actually much worse. It isn't just targeting interactive stuff, it's targeting pretty much any sort of fan service in general. And it's affecting pretty much any game coming from Japan, including games that aren't even getting a Western release and are going to be Japan only. Because we've now gotten word from a few Japanese developers who were making some visual novels that had no scheduled Western release at all, that their games are either being forced to be censored or they're having difficulty getting them certified by Sony for release. Now, on top of this, not only are they making the certification process harder, they're also demanding that these Japanese companies fill out some sort of form in English in order to get their games approved. Which, the social justice warriors would be calling that xenophobic if they weren't a bunch of disingenuous hypocrites. But I digress. So this is even shittier than we thought. Obviously, it's going to affect a lot of developers now. Any small Japanese dev that's doing any sort of like ecchi fan servicey content is going to get hit by this. Now, I believe Sony's reasoning behind this, I'm guessing, this is speculation, but I'm guessing that their logic behind this is they're thinking about their branding, and their idea is that this is going to sort of clean up their image by getting sort of that style of content off their platform. Now, they can get away with this because these sort of games target such a small audience that the amount of money they're going to be losing, at least in their minds, is minuscule versus the value that it's going to have on their brand. Now, I think this is totally wrong. I think it's going to completely backfire and just going to build up sort of a negative sentiment towards their customer base against them. But I think that's sort of their logic behind this, I'm assuming. Now, this is going to cause a lot of problems. And first of all, it's going to piss off the weeaboos. And you don't want to piss off the weeaboos, especially the ones in Japan. They take this shit really seriously. And you don't want to incur their wrath. And that's exactly what they're doing here. But then on top of that, like I mentioned in my last video about this, it's going to chase off their developers. Which might be the idea, but regardless, that's what's going to happen. And I stick by what I said. I really think that Kenichiro Takaki and Honey Parade Games are going to be one of the first ones to go. Because now that we know for sure that this policy is affecting Japanese releases as well, then there's just absolutely no way that Senran Kagura 7 is going to be able to get past this without some sort of censorship. Since it's targeting just fan service in general, I'm surprised that Burst Renewal didn't get hit harder than it did. But Takaki, the man has business cards that literally say Righteous Boobage Producer on them. I don't think he's going to respond too well to his games having to be censored. So, at this point, honestly, I would be kind of surprised if he didn't come out and cancel the PS4 release of Senran Kagura 7 and end up just releasing the game on Switch and or PC instead. And I'm sure that they probably won't be the only ones to do this. A lot of the small developers are probably going to jump ship, especially to Nintendo, since the Switch is doing so well in Japan right now. So this is going to have a ripple effect more so than Sony believes it is, I think. And ultimately, it's just going to build up more of a negative sentiment towards their brand in general. And what kind of effect that'll have on the PlayStation 5 that will most likely get announced next year, probably. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think they're wanting to set up that console to be, focused more on the big AAA titles and things like that. And apparently, any sort of big name title from the West is totally unaffected by this policy, so that explains why, you can have like GTA and The Witcher and things like that have nudity and things and be totally fine. But, if it's an anime titty, it's terrible for some reason. So, pretty much like I said before, it's going to end up being Nintendo and Steam's gain, most likely, from this. So, anyway, I guess that's about all I got to say. So, lots of luck to you and yours.